Welcome to the first video on section 1.3. We're going to start talking about equivalent rational numbers today. Here are the learning objectives for all of the videos of 1.3. Go ahead and read these and get these written down before moving on to the next slide. Here's our introductory problem. Go ahead and read that, figure out what it's asking for, and before moving on. Okay, so in the last lesson we talked about how to identify numbers as rational or not. Now once we know how to do that, we are going to need to be able to compare and order them every once in a while. So for example, if you had a loss of a half compared to a loss of 0.34, you would need to determine which loss is greater. Placing the numbers on a number line can help you do this. So before we get into that, let's review the inequality symbols that are going to help us compare and order rational numbers. Okay, so the first one is this one right here. That means greater than. So if you think about it, there's going to be two numbers and then the symbols in the middle. Okay, when we use greater than, that means this number on the left is greater than the number on the right. The second one means less than. So again, we've got our two numbers that we're comparing, and if it's a less than symbol, that means this number on the left is less than the number on the right. And the final one should be one that you recognize, that's equal to. So we've got our two numbers. If there's an equal sign in there, that means the one on the left is equal to the right. So when we're doing these inequalities, we're always comparing the left side to the right. So how does the left side compare to the right? Is it greater than, is it less than, or is it equal to? When we are comparing rational numbers, we tend to use a number line to figure out which number is larger than the other. And so how we do that is we put both numbers on the number line. So let's say we got a number here and a number right there. Okay. Any number that's to the right of the other one is greater. Okay, so if one number is to the right of the other, it's greater. The left one is less than. Okay, so the number on the left is the smaller number, the number on the right is the bigger one. So for our example here, choose the inequality symbol that goes in the blank to make this statement true. We're comparing the numbers negative 2.5 to negative 5. So we want to know, how does 5 compare to negative 2.5? So we start with drawing our number line, and you see that down here. Okay, we've got the numbers between negative 5 and 5 on here. And we place the numbers on the number line. So negative 5 goes right where negative 5 is on the number line. Since 0.5 is about a half, negative 2.5 is going to be halfway between negative 2 and negative 3. So that's going to go right here. Okay. Now, as you can see, negative 2.5 is to the right of negative 5. And if you remember up here, if it's to the right of it, it's greater. So therefore, our symbol is going to be greater than. So we would say that negative 2.5 is greater than negative 5. This example I want you to do on your own. So go ahead and pause the video and figure out how does 1.5 compared to 3 using the number line. Once you get your answer, go ahead and hit play and you can see how you did. Okay, so in this example, I've got my number line here. I chose to go for between 0 and 6 because 1.5 and 3 both fall in that group. The red line on the number line is where 1.5 sits. The blue line is where 3 sits. If you'll notice that 3 is further to the right than 1.5, so 3 is larger than 1.5. So I would say that 1.5 is less than 3. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take more than two numbers and we're going to put them in order. And that order will be given to us. So for this case, we want to go from least to greatest. So we want the smallest numbers on the left, largest on the right. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is take all these numbers and make sure they're in the same form. You'll notice that 4/5 is a fraction, and then these ones are in decimal form. So it's probably easiest to make these all into decimals. 4/5, if we divided 4 by 5, we would get 0.8. So we've got 0.8, 0.6, 1, and 0.6 repeating. Okay, so if we draw our number line here, now you'll notice we've got 1 and then decimals with 0 at the beginning. So if I start with 0 here and go to 1, I can do 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, and 0.9. Now, the first one, 0.8, sits right here at 0.8. 0.6 is right here. 1 is here. And 0.6 repeating, so 0.6666, that's going to be somewhere between 0.6 and 0.7. So I'm going to put that right about here. Okay. Now, as we can see here, we want to go from smallest to largest. So we want to start on the left side and work our way to the right. The smallest number is the one that's on the far left, is the blue line, so 0.6 is our smallest number. Then we move on to the next one, the yellow. 0.6 repeating is our next smallest number. Then we have the red, 0.8. And we've got the green, 1. So in order from least to greatest, my numbers are 0.6, 0.6 repeating, 0.8, and 1. This next example, now we want to go from greatest to least. So now we want the greatest number on the left and then work our way to the right and get smaller. Okay, so we've got the numbers 0.1, 0.25, 0.9, and 1/5. And I'll give you the number line here. So we're going to start at 0. And you notice how they're all numbers smaller than 1. So just like before, we're going to count by 0.1. I messed up a little bit, so we're going to add to it here. 0.8, 0.9, and 1. Okay, so here's our number line. Go ahead and solve this. Put them in order from greatest to least while the video is paused, and then go ahead and hit play and see how you did. Alright, so this is what it should look like. So 0.1 is in the red here. There's the line for it right there. 0.25 is halfway between 0.2 and 0.3, so it goes right there. 0.9 is over here. And 1/5 is the same thing as 0.2, so that line goes there in yellow. So when we want to go from greatest to least, we want to start as far right as we can now and work our way left. It's the opposite as when we went from least to greatest. So the one farthest to the right is the 0.9, so that goes first. Then we work our way over. The next one to the left is blue, that's 0.25. Then yellow, 1/5, and then red, 0.1.